Come and dream with me.
Hello, welcome to What Do You Want to Watch? The Explosion Network's premier media podcast. Every week we get together to talk about movies, TV, and online content. Help answer the question: should Oscar voters need to own a Connect so they can track their eyes to make sure they're watching the movies that they say they're watching? Yes. I'm sure Microsoft has got a whole bunch somewhere. I'm your host, Ash Shelby. Join me today, Don Blight.
Unrelated, but Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning is back in cinemas this coming Friday. Now, interestingly, because they can't change it, I guess, because it's the official title, but it is in cinemas as Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. So you can go watch Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 and still never get Part 2. I'm surprised they didn't come up with a way to just rename it in the re-release back in cinemas, but anyway.
Why couldn't they?
Well, I don't know. Surely they would have been able to, but it's everywhere I've looked.
Are they actually re-releasing it, or
it's every cinema I've looked at? Hoyt and Village, Melbourne, here. I've been looking at showtimes. It is all in the cinemas on Friday, everywhere.
And everyone says Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Yep. Because I was like, maybe this is just the one cinema thing. Maybe the other cinema has it as just called now Dead Reckoning. But no, they don't. They all say Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Interesting.
It is interesting. That's why I'm sharing with you. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. More interesting than I was talking about. Anyway, on today's episode, we'll be talking about what's in the watch history, going over some film news, giving them thumbs to trailers, and giving you this week's top 3. Kicking things off over on All New Marvel Cast, we just did a spoiler cast for Thunderbolts Asterix, the latest MCU movie, the one that everybody says is bringing the MCU back, featuring your favorite band of supervillains that everyone forgot about, like Florence Pugh's Yelena Belova, like David Harbour's Red Guardian, like Wyatt Russell's John Walker / US Agent, like John Kamen's Ghost, like Olga Kurylenko's Taskmaster from that very short period in Black Widow. All come together, Trakt, I guess, by Valentina Dufontaine, I think is her name. It's hard to remember. Played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, into trying to kill each other, but they all come together, fight against her. And also Bob is there, played by Lewis Pullman.
Yeah.
So we've done spoiler full thoughts. Dylan, do you want to give your spoiler less thoughts?
It's a very spoilery movie, isn't it? Spoiler less thoughts. It's the loose ends, a bunch of movies together, making surprisingly a good movie. Florence Pugh out of 10.
So it's like 12, 16, 17 maybe.
Yeah, it's actually a very good, it's a very fun time. I think it's not like this is. I think the easiest way to put it is like this isn't the Black Panther level. Like this is like bringing something new and meaningful to the MCU that sort of enlightens and makes the comic book movies be more than what they can be. However, it is a very fun film, and I don't mean that in a it's shit but fun at the same time. It's generally good. The chemistry between the whole cast is great, especially Florence Pugh and David Harbour. Well, actually, David Harbour and the rest of the cast. Actually, Florence Pugh and Lewis Pullman also very good chemistry. The action was surprisingly good and less than I thought it would be, and it's a movie more reliant on actually characters talking than hitting, which is funny considering Florence Pugh's character has the line about all we do is shoot and punch and kill things. Like, yeah, I think it's a really good time. I don't think you need to be super into Marvel to actually enjoy it, which is interesting considering most of the characters are pulled from a bunch of the Marvel shows that you may not have seen. But yeah, it's generally worth checking out.
Yeah, I had a great time as well. Really enjoyed it. I think it is. Yeah, it doesn't add anything particularly new to the universe. And it's not like an incredibly epic scale as your Avengers level events, but it just finds that perfect ground for itself, the perfect space, and is full of fun banter between these characters. It's just a very fun team dynamic that you just want to go along for the ride and enjoy just being with these characters for the 2 hours or so. Florence Pugh was fantastic. She's the linchpin that holds this all together. Like, I feel like
she's not phoning it in. I feel like she's like, especially that scene between her and David Harbour.
Arguably, is the best addition to the MCU.
Yeah,
post Endgame.
I do love our girl over on Miss Marvel.
Yeah, but where's she now? And she was in the Marvels.
Yeah, sure.
They've both been in shows and films. So, but yeah, Bob, played by Lewis Pullman, is really fun and like has an interesting arc and story, and it's just a delight. Wyatt Russell, like John Walker, was kind of insufferable in The Winter Soldier, but in this, with this dynamic and like where he is now, he's kind of super enjoyable to watch doing his thing. How did you? Ghost kind of gets the short stick, I think, of the entire cast, of like the least to do, but she does get to do some cool action sequences and like use powers.
Incorrect.
Cool
I would
ways
argue
and
Taskmaster gets the least to do.
That's fair.
Out of
I don't even know if she gets a. I think Ghost gets the short stick and just Taskmaster miss out on any sort of stick. So, and of course Sebastian Stan, like is so the veteran of the group, and like his entrance, or his like when he meets the team for the first time, is like so epic and like cool. Like you've probably seen all the trailers and that kind of stuff of him riding on the motorcycle, like coming in, pulling cars all over the place.
Winter Soldier, I love that guy.
I mean, there's certain aspects of this that don't make a lot of sense. They're not. The position of where people are does make a ton of sense, or is playing for any particular reason. But you look past all that, it's just an enjoyable time.
If you look past that, Ash, you know what you'll find? You'll find a movie that makes you feel so full, so filled.
So full, so filled?
Yeah.
They should put it on the poster. Do you think people can go? How many? What do you think are the minimum amount of properties people need to watch before they can go see this?
0. I honestly feel like you could watch this with, like, and pick up. I think you can read between the lines enough. You'll miss some of the nuance, but I think you can just watch it as this. Because if you watch this without watching any Marvel movies, what is it? It's like, okay, so she's a secret agent, they're a secret agent, they're all brought together, government organization. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you miss some of the nuance. Once you introduce Bob, brand new character, like, I feel like you could watch it as is. Not to the best of its ability, but
I think you definitely could.
Yeah.
I think at the very minimum, you'd need to watch Black Widow.
I always take it as like, could my mum watch this? Right? I feel like she could watch it, miss some of it, and still laugh at a lot of the jokes and whatever else, because they're all built on just the dynamics.
Yeah. Yeah. So check out Thunderbolts in cinemas everywhere, and then go check out our spoiler cast over on All New Marvel Casts. And yeah, be so full, so filled. Be like the kids on the Wheaties box.
The little.
So. Lots of good quotes in this film, and like really good. Like we keep going. Like all the elements as well. Like all the other elements. Soundtrack's really good. Doesn't sound like the MCU in any sort of way. Cinematography's really good. Costumes, production, all that stuff, top notch. It's because they're all A24 people, apparently.
They are. Yeah.
The trailer says, You haven't watched anything else this week, have you?
I don't believe so. We're doing too many rewatch things that my movie time is currently just rewatching things for other things.
And you've got
and I'm playing
a couple of video games.
And I'm playing a few video games at the same time. So yeah.
The
only thing is, I will say, I'm up to date on the rehearsal. I don't know if you've seen episode 3.
No, I haven't watched episode 3.
I've watched episode 3 already. Insanity is how I would say, if you thought this show was hard to describe before, it was like you could explain the show before episode 3 to a toddler, like in comparison levels of how ridiculous episode 3 is. You are not ready, is what I'll say.
I thought episode 2 was even more ridiculous.
Nope.
Where Nathan Fielder enlists a bunch of airport if you haven't been following along this season of the rehearsal, he's trying to help airline pilots communicate because that is a major reason why there's a lot of air crashes in America. Because
as I discovered in my research,
it could be in your research. Yes, there is
they're talking
a lot of they just don't communicate very well. It seems. In the second episode, Nathan Fielder. So back in the start of his career, apparently, Nathan Fielder was he worked on Canadian Idol as a producer, which as part of the job, he had to have people perform in front of him and say yes or no. You can go perform in front of the judges, and you have to give no a lot. So now he's getting the airline pilots to do the exact same thing on this show to get to get them used to giving bad news. Is the thought process behind it so crazy?
In episode 3, Nathan Fielder says, and again, I don't want to spoil this, but he says, who's a pilot that actually communicated properly? And he comes across I can't remember the dude's last name, but as portrayed by Tom Hanks, Sully.
Sully.
And he says, okay, I'm going to play out that entire dude's life to see if I can get in his head. And when I say play out his entire life, I mean Nathan Fielder is playing a baby to start with, through to being an old man, and it's something special. And honestly, he may have solved. There's a 23 seconds of silence on that crash or river landing of Sully, right? There's 23 seconds of silence on the Hudson River landing, and no one knows what was going on there. In this episode, Nathan Fielder cracks it, finds out what he was doing because he got so into the character of Sully that he knows exactly what he did for those 23 seconds. And you'll try and say there's no way that happened, but it makes perfect sense, and he explains it to you, and you'll believe it. And also, by the end of this episode, I think the season's done because I think he cracked the problem of pilots. So look forward to that.
I think there's another 3 episodes to go.
I don't know how, because by the end, the last shot of this episode, I went, that's it. That is it. You've done it. Okay. Anyway, what a show.
Looking forward to checking it out. What a crazy show.
I mean, here's me watching it, because it doesn't start straight over this Sully thing. It starts with something else. I'm watching it. It's typical with the rehearsal nonsense, right? When it started transitioning into him doing the Sully thing, and I look up at one stage and he's transforming himself into a baby, I just was eating food, and I remember just looking up going, what the fuck? Okay. There's going to be GIFs of him in a particular moment from this episode for all of eternity, is all I'm going to say. Or at least screenshots of it.
Yeah. All right. I was just checking if there was any updates to him calling out Paramount Plus from last week. Doesn't seem to be.
Yeah, well, that was very funny also. So
that was very funny as well.
Anyway, watch the rehearsal. It's on HBO Max. Or Max, whatever we call it.
Just Max.
Just Max, yeah. No, it's not called Just Max. It's called Max.
Mm-hmm. So I watched the other big film, I guess, that came out last week. Another Simple Favour. This is a sequel to A Simple Favour starring Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively. In that film, Anna Kendrick is like just a baking mom.
She's a mummy
trying
influencer.
to do a baking vlog.
She's a mumfluencer.
Yeah, she's a mumfluencer. Who is very entranced by this enigmatic other mother played by Blake Lively. I guess spoilers for A Simple Favour. There's a sequel. Events happened in the first movie. There's no way around it. Blake Lively's character killed was implicated in a bunch of crimes and was sent to prison. And then Anna Kendrick's character, Emily. No, she's not Em.
No,
Emily's the other character. Stephanie becomes like a true crime person.
The original
It's
movie
a-
ends with her with the book and talking about the book and stuff.
Yeah, so she has written a book about her experience with Emily called The Faceless Blonde, and she's doing a reading of the book. Emily comes in, released from prison because she's got new lawyers or whatever.
Okay.
And now she's getting married in Capri, Italy.
Did they say how long after the between events ever, or did they just 5
years, I believe.
Okay.
So yeah, the kids have grown up. I think is the major reason why. That's the explanation. But yeah, she's now getting married in Capri, and she's asked Stephanie to be her maid of honor.
Makes sense.
She asks her, and then she effectively just blackmails her into, coming. Otherwise, she'll sue her for using her likeness in a book and all that kind of stuff. Which I don't know if that's like a thing you can be sued for. Like,
I don't think so either, because she was part of
people write unauthorized biographies all the time.
She's talking about her life also, like
yeah.
Anyway,
that kind of stuff. So, yeah. So there's a wedding that happens in Korea, and unfortunately, Emily's ex-husband, played by Henry Golding, has to show up because he brings her son to come for the wedding. Again, forced by lawyers, who Emily hasn't seen in 5 years, so she's super really wants to see her son. And yeah, she's getting married to a very wealthy Italian man who may or may not have connections to a criminal element. And yeah, then a murder happens at the wedding or around the wedding. Crazy series of events. Yeah, I had a really good time. It was really enjoyable seeing these characters kind of back and forth again. There is that fun, really dark banter about the events of the last movie and joking about how she killed her sister and jokes about putting her in prison and that kind of stuff. And there's all the jokes about her fucking her husband and that kind of stuff, taking her life and that kind of stuff. Also, Henry Golding and Anna Kendrick don't stick together. I don't know if that,
They went together at the end of the movie. They say they broke
I can't remember.
Yeah, at the end of the movie, they said they broke up, I think. I already knew that, so they must have, yeah.
Okay, I couldn't remember. I did watch a recap video before I went into this, just to remember everything. Yeah, I mean, there's some crazy twists and turns and that kind of stuff, but yeah, I mean, it is definitely held up by the chemistry between Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively, and both of them delivering fantastic performances. And yeah, it gets a little bit crazy rewriting some of the history that we know about these characters and that kind of stuff. I mean, the sets and the locations are all very lavish. Costumes are really great.
Was it filmed all in America or?
No, I believe they were all in Italy. So
Tariffs.
Well, we'll get into that. So, I mean, it's super fun movie. It's not going to blow anybody's mind, or you're not going to be super disappointed you didn't see it on the big screen or anything. But I had a good time. I feel like it also kind of leaves the door open for another film, which I don't know what you call.
Yet another.
One more. Yet another Simple Favour.
Yet another Simple Favour. Or just one more.
Just add an extra word every single time.
Yep.
Yet another.
Yep.
One. Yet another.
Yep.
Once more in another film. Yep. Yeah.
Into the fray with another Simple Favour.
Yeah, so I had a good time. Go check it out on Prime Video. And that's everything I watched this week. Let's move into some film news, and obviously not a lot this week, but then, as per usual, a certain orange president decides to drop a bomb that kind of shakes everything up at the very last minute. So we're recording Monday night, the 5th of May.
Yep, he woke up this morning, Monday, and went,
it would have been Sunday.
Always laying in bed Sunday night and going, you know what? I'm suddenly super into the cinema American film.
Mm-hmm. Also, Alcatraz. I really love Alcatraz. Yeah. Big rock fan.
Yeah.
Big fan of The Rock.
Yeah. Try and explain this to me.
Okay, so reading from Deadline. Trump said that he is ordering the U.S. Trade Representative and comments Commerce Department to begin their process to impose a 100% tariff on imports of movies that are produced in foreign lands, calling runaway production a national security threat. Trump's comments follow reports that one of his special ambassadors in Hollywood, John Voight, was devising a plan to save the entertainment industry. Trump wrote on Truth Social, "The movie industry in America is dying a very fast death. Other countries are offering all sorts of incentives to draw filmmakers and studios away from the United States. Hollywood and many other areas within the USA are being devastated. This is a concerted effort by other nations and therefore a national security threat. It is, in addition to everything else, messaging and propaganda. Therefore, I am authorizing the Department of Commerce and the United States Trade Representative to immediately begin the process of instituting a 100% tariff on any and all movies coming into our country that are produced in foreign lands. We want movies made in America again." Trump later told reporters other nations have been stealing the movie-making capability of the United States. I said to a couple of people, "What do you think? I've done some very strong research over the last week, and we are making very few movies now. Hollywood is being destroyed. You have a completely incompetent governor that allowed this to happen. So I'm not just blaming other nations, but other nations, a lot of them have stolen our movie industry. If they are not willing to make a movie inside the United States, should have a tariff on the movies that come in. And not only that, governments that are actually giving big money, they are supporting them financially. So that is sort of a threat to our country in a sense. It's a very popular thing. Movie makers love it."
It's still going.
Let's see. There has long been a push within the industry for a more robust federal tax incentive as opposed to state tax breaks as a way to keep production in the United States. Union representatives have been raising the idea of a federal tax break to further incentivize domestic production for some time, as production crews have seen the loss of work over many years. But among the studios, there have also been concerns that Trump would try to impose restrictions on any filming overseas, as generous incentives in the UK, Canada, and Australia have long lured Hollywood studio tentpole production. Major Hollywood studios have come to depend on these overseas incentives as a way to try to reduce production costs. Trump's announcement didn't make mention of TV series production, which produce heavily in Canada. Streamers like Netflix do have a heavy share of the productions outside the US, along with licensing foreign content. It's unclear how Trump's call for 100% tariff will work, including how they would be implemented. Another issue is when a tariff may be imposed with productions that maybe shoot part overseas and part in the United States, or do post-production in the US. Trump's existing tariffs do not apply to services, and there are currently in a World Trade Organization moratorium on digital goods that is in effect through 2026. It's also unclear whether the tariff would apply to movies already in production overseas or partially in foreign countries, like Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, which is currently shooting in Morocco, with plans of other locations, including Sicily. But currently, sources tell us The Odyssey is shooting in Los Angeles on a soundstage lot. Additionally, Disney and Marvel's Avengers Doomsday is a film in the UK. The legendary produced Warner Brothers and distributed Dune Messiah, the third film in the franchise, is set to shoot in Hungary in September. That follows up on the 2022 shoot of the Oscar-nominated Dune Part 2, which took place in the Viktor Orban-ruled nation. There's also already, well, I guess first, what are your thoughts on this? Is this actually going to happen? And could this fuck everything up?
I have no idea what he's on about, and I don't think he has any idea what he's on about. How do you make this work? How it makes any sense? I think he's basically saying someone just told him Parasite won an Oscar is what I think happened. You know what I mean? Like, I know it was 2 years ago now, but I think someone just told him. Hey, do you remember that movie? There was a Asian film with subtitles that won Best Picture. Asian film. Was it made in China? No, thank you. Not Academy will do American. You know, like that's what I think's happened. To be completely honest, so because it doesn't make any fucking sense. I have no idea how any of that makes any sense. American films used to be made in America. I'm going to put 100% tariff. What are you tariffing? I don't understand. So if Avengers is shot outside of America, which it is, then you're tariffing your own product because it's still produced by an American. I don't understand what's happening. I don't know. I don't get it. I read the story and went, that's insanity. I have no idea what the insanity is because I'm trying to understand the babbling of an insane man. And that's what it is. It is the babbling of an insane man. It makes absolutely no sense. If this happens, no, you know what? I don't think it can happen because I don't understand what he's even talking about.
I think it is just too difficult to implement. Like, what are you going to put, like, what, yeah, like you said, what are you putting the tarot on? Is it, because it's an intellectual property, you can't really put a price on that?
Are you just, like, Marvel has to pay 100% increase
or
on
are they going
what?
to say, hey, listen, the tickets for this movie are going to be double the price.
We'll take Chris Hemsworth back. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like,
do you know how many foreign stars there are in Hollywood? Everybody's going to leave. Do you reckon it's because The Apprentice was shot in Canada and was an international co-production? Directed by an Iranian.
Well, that part makes sense.
You know? I mean, yeah, I mean, it's so difficult because obviously so much of the film industry is like globalized. Like, obviously, Thunderbolts this week, like a lot of the production on that, like it was shot Malaysia and shot in sound stages all over the place, and then visual effects were done here in Australia and all over the place. You know, how do you impose tariffs on all those elements? Are you like going to put a tax on the pay that you gave to people?
But it's like, it's such a collaborative thing, but at the end of the day, the studio that's like behind everything that gets the money is American. Like, if we're talking about Thunderbolts in particular, like, I understand that they filmed most movies filmed in other locations, and most films, like, if you look at like a lot of the big blockbusters that go film in China or something like that, it's because they do these massive, like, they incentivize them with a bunch of cash. So is Trump saying he's going to incentivize more people to film American movies in America by giving them money? No, he's just saying, I'm going to charge.
I'm going to make it more expensive to go other places. I don't understand. Like, just do it here.
If you viewed American cinema and said we're not making enough American stories, which is not true at all. There is, in fact, the only way you would think that's true is if all you watch is AAA big blockbuster films, right? Which is probably all you watch anyway. But if small American independent cinema and lower budget films is right and fulfilling, and there's still plenty of proper American stories and films happening out there without dollars coming from
more movies and TV are being made now than ever be made before.
Yeah, and majority American.
I would assume a lot. I mean, I'm sure it's true that there is less being shot in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And that's just because the tax incentives are so good there, and it's very difficult to shoot in Los Angeles.
Yeah. So I don't understand, it's like,
and that kind of stuff.
If that's what your problem is, your solution makes absolutely no sense. Like most of his things, but
obviously his big thing is like trade exports and imports deficits. Reading from another article, it says Trump has complained about trade deficits as he has imposed tariffs on other countries, but the movie industry has been a bright spot. According to Motion Pictures Association, the industry generated a positive balance of trade in every major market in the world, with export 3.1 times that of imports. The industry produced $2.26 billion in exports and $15.3 billion in trade surplus.
Yeah, because like
last year.
Let's take something like Mission Impossible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Out in a couple of weeks, filmed all over the world, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's had, I'm sure, probably a lot of American crew because it's a Paramount Pictures and all this sort of stuff. They were Americans getting paid money, jobs, wage. Then Paramount's going to make billions and billions of dollars as the film makes billions and millions of dollars around the world. And yes, they had to shoot in other locations, but also it's a fucking film that's about globetrotting. So are you now saying that you don't tell stories that leave America? Is that now anti-free speech? Like, what do we,
Yeah, and then at what point is the tariff being paid?
And to who?
Well, I
From
mean, it's to
who?
the government.
Yeah, from
Yeah,
who?
I mean, I guess it would be from the production company, like the studio, or like the distributor. Like if they're buying a foreign film, that
Okay,
would.
so the so-and-so
I mean, that's the
government
clearest
is
one. If you're
giving
buying
us
a foreign film, you
yeah.
have to. I guess you have to pay double. Like that's
Yeah.
fucking
They're
ridiculous.
giving
Like,
us a $600,000 tax rebate to film here, but then we have to pay the 100% tariff. So I guess we'll go fuck ourselves.
yeah,
Like, what do we? Insanity.
it is insanity. It's just going to hurt everybody, especially independents. Who are the ones doing it tough, and it's like, yeah. Hopefully, this just dies a very quick death. Because he's got no idea how to actually implement it, or it's found illegal, and he actually agrees that he can't do anything about it.
Well,
I understand, like trying to bring more jobs or like keep more productions in America, but this isn't the way to go about it. There's always been talk about these tax breaks and that kind of stuff to make it a little bit easier for studios to shoot in America. Obviously, we see lots of stuff getting shot in Atlanta because they had a huge, they had incentive schemes to shoot in America, shoot in Atlanta and that kind of stuff, or Georgia. So, why just doing that? And, yeah, I guess we'll wait and see how this all plans out. But what a fucking wild story, especially on the eve of Cannes, which is about to take place, with the international markets there. And like, is anybody going to buy? Like, what are Neon and A24 going to be buying any movies this year?
Like, if I buy a movie
with this on the risk,
they're like, usually would spend $600 on this movie, but we can only spend $300 because then we have to pay a tariff.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What do we?
It's, ridiculous. But yeah, other than this late breaking news story, there's not a lot of major news stories. But like the last couple of weeks, there are a bunch of interesting projects announced. So we'll cover these in a segment we call Would You Want to Invest? I list off a bunch of projects for Dylan, whether it's directors or cast or plot details, and he tell me if you would fully invest, partially invest, or non-invest, and then history will be the judge if he's right or wrong. Ready for this week's iteration?
Always ready.
All right. This first one's from the Hollywood Reporter. Dev Patel is continuing to establish his triple threat filmmaking skills, coming on board to write, direct, and star in The Peasant, a unique period action thriller from Fifth Season and Thunder Road Pictures. Patel will also produce via his Minor Realm production shingle. The project reunites Patel with Thunder Road, who produced Monkey Man, his feature directorial debut, which he also co-wrote, in which he stars. In adrenalized revenge thriller, the project is being described as having shades of Braveheart and John Wick, as well as notes of King Arthur, as it mashes up medieval knights with feudal India. Set in the 1300s, it centers on a shepherd who embarks on a rage-fueled campaign against a group of mercenary knights who ransacked his community, revealing himself to be more than he seems.
I really like the monkey, so full invest.
The Monkey Man. Isn't this
I
just
like the monkey
same
too.
movie? This is the same plot?
It sounds like the same plot, but a different period or something. Setting.
Time period, yeah.
Yep, and you know what? I agree.
I'm here for the truth.
Yeah.
All right, the rest of it is from Deadline. Following his work on the Best Picture Oscar nominees Conclave, director Edward Berger looks to have zeroed in on his next potential project and is teaming with one of the town's biggest stars. Sources tell Deadline that following a competitive situation, A24 has landed the Hawk package, The Riders, with Academy Award winner Brad Pitt on board to star and Berger to direct. David Kaganich will adapt Tim Winton's novel. The novel follows Fred Scully, who, after traveling through Europe for 2 years, winds up in Ireland with his wife and daughter. And on a mystical whim of his wife Jennifer, they buy an old farmhouse that stands in the shadow of a castle. While Scully spends weeks alone renovating the old house, Jennifer returns to Australia to liquidate their assets. When Scully arrives at Shannon Airport to pick up Jennifer and their 70-year-old daughter, Billy, it is Billy who emerges alone. There's no note, no explanation, not so much as a word from Jennifer, and the shock that has left Billy speechless. In that instant, Scully's life falls to pieces.
Right as you was telling me that plot, I have Thunder outside my window, and it was like crackling as you were describing that kid walking out alone. So for that effect, I'm going to say full invest.
The universe is telling you.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
All right. Guy Ritchie, maybe the busiest director in Hollywood,
Yeah, currently, yeah.
is set to direct Roadhouse 2, which is in development at Amazon MGM Studios, with Jake Gyllenhaal on board to reprise his role as Dalton. Deadline is confirmed. Plot details for the sequel are under wraps. News of the project was first announced on Amazon's inaugural Upfronts presentation, with Will Bean is penning the script with Charles Roven and Alex Gardner producing for Atlas Entertainment alongside Gyllenhaal and Josh McLaughlin of Nine Stories Productions.
I'm not going to invest in this one. Because I just picture all his fight scenes from Sherlock, and I don't like those fight scenes. So no.
Okay. Interesting. The first film went on to be a big success upon its Southwest premiere, with nearly 80 million views in its first 8 weeks on Prime Video.
Still haven't watched it.
It's interesting. Of course, Doug Liman isn't returning because of his feud with Amazon for not releasing it in cinemas.
Mm-hmm.
Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock have reteamed in an untitled romantic thriller film in development at
Glass
Amazon
House
MGM
2.
Studios. Nathan Oppenheim is writing the script. Plot details are being kept under wraps. The film reunites Bullock and Reeves and producer Mark Gordon following their work together on the 1994 hit film Speed.
Oh.
That's it.
Partial invest. Will their chemistry work in the year 2027?
I get probably.
Don't know.
All right.
I'm thinking I'm back.
Oscar winners and husband-wife cinema royalty Javier Bardem and Penelope Cruz are set to reunite on screen in a psychological thriller Bunker from Oscar winning writer-director Florian Zeller. In Bunker, when an architect accepts a morally ambiguous project building a survivalist bunker for a tech billionaire, his wife begins to question their marriage after 17 years together. The film is described as a thriller that delves into the emotional and moral challenges a couple faces amid the tensions of the world around them, exploring the fears, doubts, and dilemmas that define our era.
Yeah, full invest. I mean, I feel like sounds like a much more interesting movie than how it'll probably be marketed, considering the two of them starring together. But that's fine. I'll full invest. Yeah.
Interesting. I don't know. Is it morally ambiguous to build a survivalist bunker for a tech billionaire? I guess it depends on the tech billionaire.
Yeah.
All right. Neon is gearing up to begin production in May on Bad Lieutenant Tokyo, with Takashi Miike set to direct. The thriller will star Shun Oguri, Lily James, and WWE star Liv Morgan. The film will be a US-Japan co-production produced by Jeremy Thomas by Recorded Picture Company, Sam Pressman for Pressman Films, and a whole other bunch of people. Neon will release the film theatrically in North America and represent the essential sales rights in Cannes this month. Written by Daisuke Tengan and produced based on the IP first produced by Edward R. Pressman, Bad Lieutenant Tokyo will follow the Bad Lieutenant, a corrupt gambler in the Metropolitan Police Force, who finds himself thrown into a tangled case after an enigmatic FBI agent arrives in Tokyo to investigate the disappearance of a politician's daughter. Meanwhile, a deviant killer operating in the Yakuza underworld seems to be shadowing their moves.
Wild idea. Yeah, I will fully invest. What a weird mix of people and things that is. I mean, I like the original film, with Harvey Keitel, so sure. The remake, Nicolas Cage.
Well, is there a remake?
I don't know, or just another version. I don't know. Whatever.
Another in the
version.
series.
I don't know. I think it was a remake from memory, but I don't know. Port Call of New Orleans.
The Wikipedia says, though the film's title and story loosely resemble that of the 1992 film, according to Herzog, it is neither a sequel nor a remake. Its only commonality is a corrupt policeman as its essential character.
Yeah, okay. I remember thinking that was meh. when I watched it, but I enjoyed the original. So yeah, sure. So, I mean, Takashi Mike, interesting director to be taking on that particular project. But I don't know. Hopefully, get some.
Is
good
it though?
old-
He'll just say kind of yes to everything, right?
I mean, he does a lot of movies, but I mean, this isn't a Japanese production, is it?
It's co-production.
Co-production, right? Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, hopefully, just get some good old torture porn in this then.
Sure. Chris Hemsworth sets to star in Subversion,
Not in
a
America.
submarine action flick coming together at Amazon MGM, with Patrick Volrath directing from a script from Andrew Ferguson. The film follows a once promising naval commander who is blackmailed by a cartel-like operation into piloting a dangerous submarine carrying illegal cargo across international waters, thrusting him into a high-stakes game of cat and mouse, outmaneuvering blockades, and navigating perilous threats both in and outside of the submarine.
I was never a fan of the Under Siege movies, so no invest.
I appreciate the pun. Subversion. Submarine.
Do you reckon that someone who didn't realize that the substance wasn't about a submarine greenlit this movie based on that movie's success?
Maybe.
That's what I think, yeah.
Will Poulter, Kit Connor, and Manu Rios are set to lead buzzy horror Rapture, with Hanaway Films will be launching in the Cannes market. It's an intriguing premise. Set in medieval England in the year 1348, the story alights on Linsley Abbey, a remote stone monastery in Yorkshire, which houses 10 monks bound by a life of strict and routine and devotion. Their fragile peace is disrupted by the arrival of a messenger, a man with haunting news from the outside world who rapidly shows symptoms of a mysterious illness. A virulent plague is spreading across the land, marked initially by a fever. It turns its victims into revenants, restless undead beings. As the contagion closes in, Hansley Abbey becomes a battleground. Desperate outsiders beg for refuge, while the infected threaten to overrun its walls. The monks are torn apart by a moral rift between those who believe they must care for the sick and those who want to protect the centuries of knowledge safeguarded by the monastery. As death is fully unleashed, so too is the brothers' capacity for extraordinary acts of altruism and ruthless betrayal, forcing them to confront the ultimate question: what does it mean to be human?
Is this the plot of 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple?
Maybe, and we just don't know it yet.
Yeah, because that's what I think you just described.
Religion and zombies.
I'll partial invest because that was a lot with not a lot.
That's fair. Billy Magnuson, Ella Purnell, and Ariana Greenblatt are set to star in the upcoming serial killer teen comedy Hot Ted, directed by SNL alum Hannah Levy, in their featured directorial debut. Protagonist Pictures, led by CEO Dave Bishop, is launching worldwide sales the upcoming Cannes film market. Hot Ted follows a true crime podcast enthusiast who is unwillingly sent to Shady Pines Camp for the summer by her parents. When camp counselor Liz doesn't arrive for breakfast one day, counselor Amy tells everyone she's had to leave for an family emergency, but Zoe doesn't buy it and is convinced fellow counselor Ted is behind Liz's disappearance. As per the synopsis, Ted's got all the hallmarks of a classic serial killer. He's not on social media and he owns a van. The only trouble is, he's too hot to be a murderer. It's up to Zoe and her friends to investigate the truth. Is Hot Ted really a serial killer, or is he just like the perfect guy?
I mean, that's just Ted Bundy, right? They're just doing a Ted Bundy thing, but not doing a Ted Bundy thing. Yeah, I'll fully invest in that. The people watch the fuck out of that.
All right, last one. Universal Pictures have set Joseph Kosinski to direct Miami Vice, a drama based on the iconic 80s NBC series about undercover cops taking down drug dealers. Dan Gilroy is rewriting a first draft script by Eric Warren Singer. No cast yet. Dylan Clark is producing it with Kosinski. Have Hashed by NBC topper Brandon Tarkatoff, who sent a note essentially asking for a cop drama with the flash of MTV that was so popular at the time. The series was created by Anthony Yerkovich. Michael Mann turned it into a visually iconic zeitgeist cultural symbol of the 1980s. An undercover cops Sonny Crockett and Ricardo Tubbs, played by Don Johnson and Philip Michael Thomas, dressed in a cool pastel wardrobes, driving fast cars and taking out drug dealers, smuggling in cocaine supplied by Mexican cartels in the neon-soaked vistas of Miami with a cutting-edge synthesizer soundtrack and the top 40 songs of the moment. The show lasted 5 seasons. Mann then turned the series into the 2006 film Miami Vice for Universal that starred Colin Farrell and Jamie Foxx as the undercover duo.
One of the last Blu-rays I purchased before moving and now attempting to save money. He was the Miami Vice director's cut. Because I saw it was on sale and it's been on that list of things where I'm like, I don't think the movie was particularly good, but it's on those list of things that people reckon the director's cut fixes a lot of problems. So got that sitting out there. I can't picture Krasinski directing this type of property though, but I know the studio will get behind him for it, so partial invest.
Yes, it's very different to his last 2 projects. Unless they're taking speedboats around Miami, Yeah. It's like we're gonna be strapped into speedboats, or it's all in first person, told from the perspective of the
that would
cops.
be a choice.
That would be a choice. All right, that's everything. I guess we have to wait and see whether Dylan's going to be right or wrong. Let's just talk about some movies that we are going to get a little bit sooner than these by talking about some giving some thumbs to trailers. Of course, you can find all the trailers we're about to talk about in the show notes below. Let's kick things off with Now You See Me, Now You Don't. Directed by Ruben Fleischer, starring Jesse Eisenberg, Woody Harrelson, Dave Franco, Isla Fisher, Morgan Freeman, Justice Smith, Dominic Sessa, Ariana Greenblatt, and Rosamund Pike. 4 horsemen have reunited to recruit 3 highly talented illusion magicians in a heist and steal the largest queen diamond in the world from a family crime syndicate. Dylan, will we see you at the cinema to see this after this trailer?
I'm giving this trailer double thumbs down because I've never watched any of these films and I have no idea what the fuck is going on. I was so confused watching this trailer. I feel like this is one of those trailers where it just very much felt like you had to have at least some understanding of what this franchise is about. And I have no idea what this franchise is about other than knowing Jesse Eisenberg's in it and it's about magic. So double thumbs down,
This is one down for me. I really love the first movie. I can't super remember the second movie. I feel like we need to do a rewatch, or for you, a first watch of these movies, if this is the case. I can't believe you haven't watched any of them. Yeah. It's magicians doing magic to take down criminals.
Is that what it's about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Take them from the rich, give them to the poor, all that kind of stuff,
Oh, okay.
I'm really psyched. It's really interesting that Isla Fisher's back in this one because she was replaced by Lizzie Captain in the second movie.
What, same character?
No, like a different, the role of the female in the 4 Horsemen.
Okay.
And there's some other characters that aren't coming back. But yeah, I'm intrigued.
Isn't Mark Ruffalo in these movies?
Mark Ruffalo was in the first 2 movies. Michael Caine was in the first 2 movies. So they're not back. I feel like it's weird because I feel like Morgan Freeman was the antagonist for maybe both. Might have to go back and rewatch the second movie. But yeah, I mean, they're silly, fun, these kind of films. Heisty, actiony.
It might be silly and fun, and I might enjoy it. However, try and watch this trailer without understanding anything, and you'll be confused as I am.
Yeah, I guess, but they give the basic idea of, hey, we're going to steal this diamond.
I will say this. I watched the trailer for let's compare this. I watched the trailer for An Accountant 2 and I go, I should check out the first one. I watched the trailer for this, I go, oh, I'm fucking any interest in this franchise because you just confused the hell out of me. Good trailer versus bad.
Now You See Me, Don't. Now You Don't is coming to cinemas on the 13th of November.
John Cena! That's his thing, right?
Next trailer is for Weapons, directed by Zach Krieger, starring Josh Brolin, Julia Garner, Alden Ehrenreich, Austin Abrams, Carrie Christopher, Benedict Wong, and Amy Madigan. When all but one child from the same class mysteriously vanish on the same night at exactly the same time, and the community is left questioning who or what is behind their disappearance. Dylan, what do you think of the latest film from the director of Barbarian?
3 thumbs up. I think this is going to be one of those.
The highly vouted.
The highly
3 thumbs up.
I think this is going to be in the end of the year top 10 trailers sort of category scenario. This is a fantastic little trailer where you just get the bare minimum setup. I could not even guess what direction this film is going to go. But yeah, I love this trailer. I was like, this is a fucking trailer.
Yeah, 2 thumbs up, fantastic trailer. I think it doesn't give the bare minimum. It gives you exactly what you need. Of like, we're going to tell you exactly what the premise of the movie is straight away, and then like kind of give you a glimpse at how the events after this setup are going to play out. And just the idea of like Julia Garner's teacher, like all the children walking in the class and all the children are missing, crazy, and like
parents blame
her
and everything.
Going through the houses at night. Yeah, I mean, Cherie, like obviously, you get images of like children around, so like, are they possessed or in a cult or like, is it a Pied Piper situation?
And given how wild his last film was, yeah, I'm expecting good things.
Yeah, very, very intriguing.
And original, not based on a Stephen King book or some shit. You know what I mean? Like,
okay,
just saying, in horror, quite often a lot of the horror films in the year are based on books, usually, or remakes.
Dylan, this massive vampire movie just came out that was totally original. So I don't know what you're talking about. I'm talking about Sinners.
Is that a horror movie?
Yes.
For you.
To everyone. That's why they're saying it's the first movie to first horror movie to get an A CinemaScore. It's a horror movie.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah. We're cooking this year, is what I'm going to say then. Sinners, then this? Sure.
Weapons released in cinemas on the 7th of August.
Get on board the genre, like...
I feel like I've seen my fair amount of horror this year so far.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. Next trailer, Paradise Records, directed by Logic, starring Logic, Tremaine Hudson, Reed Northrup, and Mary Elizabeth Kelly. Cooper, a well-meaning record store owner, is trying to keep the doors of Paradise Records open. He's facing foreclosure, the bank won't give him a loan, someone keeps offering to buy the property, and then the robbery. He's not having a great day. Thankfully, he's got a motley crew of entertaining employees and a lot of weed to help him figure out how to get himself out of this mess. Dylan, what did you think of this trailer for Paradise Records?
This movie could be really bad, but the trailer was good and seemed to have its heart and jokes in the right places, so I'm going to double thumbs up. I think it's very funny as per that. I appreciate that the thing that everyone makes fun of Logic for, which is him consistently mentioning that he's biracial, and he proceeds to make fun of him himself in this trailer. So, points for that. Get that out of the way,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this feels like a amalgamation of a bunch of other movies, like Empire Records and Clerks, and those classic like.
James and Bob were in this movie. I saw them for a second.
Yeah, saw a Silent Bob and Jay appearance. Yeah, I thought it looked pretty good. 2 thumbs up. Definitely keen. Fun vibes, fun banter, fun jokes. Just his excitement at being called the N-word at the end. Very. Logic's a very likable enough guy. So. So this is debuting at the Tribeca Film Festival on the 6th of June. Thus, there is no Australian release date.
It'll come out here at the end of the year.
Maybe. Depends on how good it is. Yeah. Next trailer. Fear Street, Prom Queen. Directed by Matt Palmer. Starring India Fowler, Susanna Sun, Fina Straza, David Iacono, Ella Rubin, Chris Klein, Aria Greenblatt, Lily Taylor, and Catherine Waterston. As students at the Shady Side High are preparing for the 1988 prom, the It Girls are fighting to get support to be voted prom queen. As an unusual nominee emerges in the race, some of the other candidates begin to vanish without a trace. Dylan, we are fans of the Fear Street trilogy that came out a few years ago. I have it here somewhere.
We did a bunch of
must have closed the tab.
So.
Yeah, we did spoil the cast for all of them. What are your thoughts on this latest entry in this Fear Street series?
I think it's, instead of doing the one film a week or whatever it was, I appreciate that we're just straight up, here's another film based on one of the R.L. Stein stories.
Books,
yeah. This looks more adult than the other ones. The other ones were like very PG-ish, I think, from memory, especially like on the scale of violence. I felt this seemed like, or at least looked like, it was going to be more violent than that, which is interesting. So, look, very classic setup. Definitely doesn't feel like something I haven't not seen before, especially when there's prom night and prom night 2 are 2 slasher films. So I mean, it's it sort of looks exactly like those to some degree. Starring Jamie Lee Curtis. So I'll go 2 thumbs up for the trailer.
Yep. I mean, I'll give it 2 thumbs up. I thought it was really well put together trailer. Obviously, it kind of looks like just any other slasher flick, but some interesting visuals, pretty solid cast, that kind of stuff. Looks like a perfect Netflix movie. Especially, I'm trying to think. Does Netflix deliver many original horror movies? I don't think so.
No, not really.
Or like any horror movies, really.
I would say, if I was to guess, 2 to 3 a year.
Yeah. Which on the scale of stuff they put out is pretty low.
Low, yeah.
Well, I guess everywhere else does horror movies, so not really a dire need for them to put it out. I'm sure it's cheaper for them just to license all the big horror movies that come out each year. All right. Fear Street Prom Queen is coming to Netflix on the 23rd of May. Last trailer for this week. The Smashing Machine, directed by Benny Safdie, starring Dwayne Johnson, Emily Blunt, Ryan Bader, Bass Rutten, and Alexander Usyk. Nope, that's not the description. Hang on.
Was it a checklist for a Smashing Pumpkins album by mistake?
No, it was my my description from last week for I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Oh.
Which is not going to fit. Let's see if... Nope, not one there. The story of a mixed martial arts and UFC champion, Mark Kerr.
Mm-hmm.
To the point. Dylan, what do you think of this trailer?
Well, the trailer, 100%, double thumbs up. I've watched it twice already. I'm very keen to see Dwayne The Rock Johnson actually have to act and not play the same character he's played in the last 50 movies.
Wait, is that Dwayne The Rock Johnson?
Yeah.
He is unrecognizable.
100% unrecognizable. Looked up a real picture of the Mark Kerr. It does look very much like him. I thought so. I mean, obviously there's the other element of Benny Safdie directing and having already taken someone like Adam Sandler previously in Uncut Gems and going, here's someone you both can't think give a really great performance, and giving him what should have been at least an Oscar nominated performance. Yeah. And now, so I think given all that, like, he's proven he can get him and his brother, even though it's only him directing this one, but get these really good performances out of people you wouldn't expect. So I'm pretty excited for this, to be honest. I probably will, only because I didn't know anything about it and I can't wait till October, and I'm slightly intrigued. So the movie is called the same title that documentary that was on HBO in early 2000s was called, which is called The Smashing Machine. So I'll probably want to watch that soon, to be completely honest, because as soon as I read that the other day, I was like, well, I'm probably just going to watch that. I won't,
Impatient.
I'm impatient. Plus, it's not a spoiler. It's it's a real life story.
Yeah. Yeah, 2 thumbs up. I think it's like not a lot to this trailer other than, presenting the story. But yeah, I mean, very smart, like the early days of UFC. That's got UFC is a huge deal now. The Rock, like seemingly giving a very serious performance, and like it seems to be the director he's going now because maybe he can't do as many big action flicks as he could, a couple of years ago. So yeah, I'm intrigued, very intrigued. Emily Blunt looks really great in this as well. And I'm excited to see what the story, that kind of how that all plays out. So yeah, very interesting film. Smashing Machine comes to cinemas on the 2nd of October. All right, let's move into this week's top 3.
Definitely in the top 3.
And with The Wedding Banquet set to release in Australian cinemas, this week's top 3 is top 3 remakes of foreign films. Dylan, what's number 3?
I put the restriction on myself of only picking stuff I've seen both the original and the remake for, not stuff I've only seen the remake for. Because I felt like if I'm saying it's a good remake, I had to have at least seen the original.
I did not do that.
Yeah, look, you're not as good as me, and that's just something you have to live for. My number 3 is The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the David Fincher. Well, here's the thing, right? It's based on the book, but I know I think it still fits into the category because there was the other film first. So, I think the David Fincher film was really good. I think the fact that the original movies were all straight TV movies, it didn't have anywhere near the budget. I thought Daniel Craig made a really good Michael Bomb, whatever his name is, and Rooney Mara was really good. Elizabeth Slander. You watch the both movies, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I think this one is a lot better. IMO. The main complaint people have is that Rooney Mara didn't have the as over the top ridiculous haircut and everything else that is described in the books that they do in the actual proper Swedish film. So, but whatever. Also, soundtrack to this is an absolute banger. The cinematography is phenomenal.
Wasn't this the first? Oh no.
I don't know if it's there was a Social Network with the
Social Network.
Yeah, this might have been the second, I think. Yeah, it's really really good. So,
my number 3 might just be recency bias. Number 3 is Nosferatu. Obviously, a famously old foreign film that Robert Eggers.
You will bounce on it.
Which Robert Eggers recreated to bring so much joy to all of us. I think maybe also it's technically based on the book.
Yeah, it is technically, yeah.
But so much pulled from the film as well, and what a movie, and what a mustache.
That's really why I decided to grow this beard. I saw that wanky ass lanky penis and thought, if a man can have a dong like that, then I can have a beard like this. You know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying, Ash?
Sure.
You
What's number
number 2? The Ring, the American remake, which I saw before I saw the original, and as much as the original is good, obviously fits into that late 90s 2000s Japanese horror through to American remakes, which were all mostly decent at least. This one I think is actually the in the category of I prefer this to the Japanese version. That may be an element of I watched this when it came out, and I would have been young and scared the living holy Jesus out of me. Seeing that girl crawl it, how would I have been? I would have been about 11, 12 when I watched this probably. And seeing that girl crawl out of the TV, and then 24 hours to live to Naomi Watts' character, I was like, good Lord, I'm dying too. That information has spread through to me. So, yeah.
All right. My number 2, it's Departed. Obviously,
my number 1, The Departed.
Ooh, the Martin Scorsese directed film that adapts the Infernal Affairs, the Hong Kong action thriller. stacked cast, fantastic thriller, fantastic crime film. Great performances across the board. It was really well put together. Obviously won the Academy Award, won Scorsese. He's finally got him his directing award, even though it's probably not his best film. But what is still what more could you ask for a remake?
Yeah, it takes Infernal Affairs are good films, the three of them, but this movie does in one movie what it takes Infernal Affairs 3 movies to do to I think tell such a layered story. I think just all round phenomenal performances, banger of a soundtrack. That was it Kickin' Murphy's song that's on it? I used to listen to. I think it's something like that. The band's called. I can't remember. Sorry, someone's screaming at me somewhere. But the that one that plays in like the montage. I used to listen to that shit all the time. A lot of really, really good performances. Lots of just really interesting storytelling. And overall, I would say this is definitely a case where I prefer this to the original.
All right. So that was your number one.
Mm-hmm.
My number one was True Lies. Did you know True Lies is a remake of a French film?
I did not, but I wouldn't have picked it because I haven't watched the French film. So.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I went through a list of remakes of films that have been remade of other movies. It's like kind of crazy, some of the films that popped up. Like, do you know Insomnia is a remake of a foreign film?
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, okay.
I know one
Jungle
of my...
to Jungle. Did you know Jungle to Jungle is
No.
the Tim Allen movie?
No, I didn't.
Crazy.
No. Of what?
But yeah, True
film?
Lies. I believe so.
Yeah.
Stealing a lot from their French people.
The Americans do, and that's why Trump needs to calm the fuck down.
What a fantastic action movie, directed by James Cameron. Arnold Schwarzenegger, fantastic performance. Jamie Lee Curtis. This great spy film, great big spectacle. So, how could you not love it? All right. Before we wrap up this week, we need to make some more picks in this year's What Do You Want to Watch Movie Fantasy Game. Of course, earlier this year, we drafted a whole bunch of films and have been following their critic scores and box office performance to earn a bunch of points. And at certain film festivals, we'll also pick 2 wildcard entries to add to our list. These wildcard entries won't be affected by critic score. No. So if it gets a negative critic score or a score under 60, it won't lose you any points. So it's kind of a free hit. But yeah, we are both going to pick 2 films from the Cannes Film Festival lineup to add to our cards. But a quick update on scores. Dylan is currently sitting at 16 points, and I am at 102 points. That is by virtue of only of one of Dylan's films currently scoring. A lot of Dylan's films are later in the year, so
hey,
it's been a bit lopsided at the moment.
That doesn't mean anything because it's not like I've lost. They're still yet to come out,
No, absolutely not. There's still the whole year to go.
Still in this,
I do have some pretty solid picks. Obviously, I picked Minecraft movie, which is going to be the highest grossing American film.
You're part of the problem. You and your chicken jockey.
18 points. Sinners is the highest scoring film of my batch, which currently has 42 points. But yeah, the first of your films to be released is Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. So
I think I'll have some money there.
You'll probably get some points there.
I'm feeling good about getting that first off the rank.
Yeah. Funnily enough, so one of the films that you picked at Sundance was The Alabama Solution, a documentary, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not enough critics there have reviewed for it to get a score.
It could still get released properly this year, and then
yeah, absolutely. But I thought that was very amusing. Also, you picked The Bride, directed by Megan Gyllenhaal, which has been delayed to next year.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So 0 points. But they might be good. You don't know.
That was a wildcard, though, wasn't it? That was from the festival.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's not going to earn any points or lose any points.
It was one of my actual ones.
The other thing is, this week, apparently, Rotten Tomatoes have pulled the critics' average score from their website. So they've got the tomato meter
Mm.
that tells you, but then they would have the average score that the critics would give, which usually was around the 6.0 mark. That was a score we were basing a lot of our points on.
You have to switch. To
So I've had to
Metacritic.
switch over to Metacritic.
Yep.
So, which resulted in some of these films taking a hit, surprisingly. But yeah. So yeah, let's talk about Khan. Dylan, what's your seeing as your last year's defeated party? You can pick first.
The party of one. My number one pick. I'm gonna go with Noël Vague, Richard Linklater's new film, which is going to be all in French about the French New Wave cinema movement, whatever we call it. Very interesting film. Very interesting time in cinema. As far as it's one of the most. I would say. I feel like for a lot of directors currently working, it's probably the most influential period of cinema for a lot of those people. So I'm very intrigued to see this story tell like the cover that sort of story. And I mean, look, it's a Richard Linklater film anyway. But I think him directing a film that's apparently going to be all in French is also very intriguing. I appreciate his commitment to the authenticity.
To the bit, yeah. I'm going to go with the film Sentimental Value, which is directed by Joachim Trier, who previously did The Worst Person in the World, and is reteaming with the lead actress from that, Renate, who obviously was Academy Award nominated for that one. I believe. How to do it, Khan? It won her the Best Actress, but that film was only nominated for Palme d'Or, so, go one better this time. Dylan, what's your second and final pick from Khan?
Die, My Love. The new film by Lene Ramsey. Yeah. Starring Jennifer Lawrence and Rob Pattinson. Not much is known about it, other than, I don't know, them. Yeah. I mean, that's honestly about all I know, to be honest.
I believe it's about a new mother who develops postpartum depression and enters psychosis.
So exciting.
Yeah.
All I know is the cast and director, and I'm like, yeah, well, I like the cast and I like the director. Was their last film the You Were Never Really Here? Was that they did something else that? No, that was the last film.
That's the last one listed. Yeah.
Yeah. Which was really good. Obviously, Joaquin Phoenix. Also recently picked up on Blu-ray like the other month. I haven't got a chance to rewatch it again. Sorry. But Umbrella released it 4K. So, yeah. And then before that, we need to talk about Kevin. So they've had a recent string of successes, and yeah. So, King.
Yeah, you've kind of left me with a bunch of really interesting films to pick from.
Look, I go with my heart.
Well, I thought another film was going to be the one that you picked with your heart. Alpha by Julia.
Yeah, I had that on my
Ducournau.
short list. Yeah, but I didn't like their last film.
You didn't like Titane?
No, I didn't like Titane.
I thought you were all about fucking those cars.
No, well, I am, but not in that particular film. I love Raw, which I now own on Blu-ray thanks to a Facebook group as of a couple months ago. But yeah, I didn't like Titane. I didn't vibe with that as much as I'm on the outside, I think, of weird horror fringe critic people. But I'm still keen to watch it. But yeah.
I mean, Eddington is there, Ari Aster as well.
Yeah. I think my intrigue in that is there, but I still haven't sat down to put myself through whatever depression is.
You didn't see Beau Was Afraid.
Yeah, I still need to watch that prior to this, I think. But it's just, it never came to my cinemas. And it's just been on that thing of like, I miss it in cinemas. And then I just, I've talked about this before. Sometimes, like, even if I'm looking forward to something and it doesn't come to my cinemas, by the time it comes out in like digital or DVD or something, it's just like takes me longer to get to it. Because I'm like, I've missed the boat.
I mean, yeah, lots of interesting movies.
Kristen Stewart's debuts there, I saw.
Yeah. Her one. Scarlett Johansson's got a debut film there as well. Ethan Coen is releasing the second of his. I found out that it's going to be a lesbian B movie trilogy.
Sure.
With Driveway Dolls.
Okay.
Reteaming with Margaret Qualley in Honey Don't. And also Spike Lee has got a film, Highest to Lowest. I think I'm just going to go with the safe bet and go for the Phoenician Scheme by Wes Anderson.
It's a boring pick, though.
You know, pretty safe bet of earning some points on that one, but definitely one I'm keen for. So, yeah, lots of interesting films going to be a card, and excited to read all the different reviews. But Dylan, this week, what do you want to watch?
It's the week. Will I get to watch it? Fucking doubt it. But Clown in the Cornfield is out this week, people.
No, there's no showtimes yet.
Well, here's the problem, Ash. I'm in Melbourne Friday, and I've spent before recording looking at showtimes. Currently, none of the showtimes line up with what I'm actually there to do, and it's going to fucking piss me off.
Like,
look, let's put it this way.
Why aren't cinemas open at 10 o'clock?
Yeah, like the earliest screening is like 11:45, and I'm like, I got to be at the place at 2. I'm like, well, that doesn't work. No,
I think you're going to have to call up a cinema and see if you can rent a cinema to play Cornfield.
It's honestly hurting my feelings.
And it's not going to be in Launceston?
No, not up yet. Like if it might randomly show up. I can only hope. You know what I mean? I can only hope. If the early reviews start coming out for this and they're really bad, I'm going to be disappointed. And by really bad, let me just clarify, because it's a horror movie. If it comes out and it's around 60 something on Metacritic, that's fine.
I mean, it's already technically. It showed at South by Southwest.
Yeah, so. I don't know if there was enough. Last time I looked,
it's got a 94 on Rotten Tomatoes. So.
Yeah, but okay.
I don't know what the. I'm going to look up Metacritic.
I looked on Metacritic before, and it was none because I didn't have enough reviews. So, again, for people who've been listening, trailer, me do all 3 books. Very excited now. TV shows, don't think there's anything else I care about. At least as far as I'm aware.
Yeah. I'm keen to go check out The Wedding Banquet. Really good cast. I really liked the previous film, Fire Islands. I've heard for some places maybe a little bit more dramatic than comedic. So, going in prepared for that. On the TV front, I don't know that there is anything particular. Poker Face starting back up. Season 2. That's really exciting. Latesh Leone going on more.
Do we like her now with the whole AI thing, or we going?
Yeah, that's the Rye Johnson. So I mean,
yeah.
It evens itself out a little bit. So we'll see. Maybe I'll brave the cinema and go see Corn the Cornfield in your honor.
I'm telling you, man, there's deeper meaning to that movie, you know. And I'm not memeing. There is. That's why I liked it so much. I really like the characters and the story behind it. Whether or not they do a good I'm going to turn into one of these book nerds reviewing this movie. I'll be like, it was much better in the book.
All right. Let us know what you want to watch this week. Are you excited for Cornfield? By finding us on Blue Sky at ExplosionNetwork.com, or find us on other social media at ExplosionPod. If you want to help us out here, what do you want to watch? Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Podchaser. Leave us 5 stars, equally 5 stars, or just tell people about the show. And if you've enjoyed this episode, thoughts with $1, head on over to our Ko-fi page at ExplosionNetwork.com/support. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.
I do feel like if I can't watch it, but I want them to make the other 2 books into films, you sort of have to go support it in place of me, you know?
Yeah, maybe you just have to buy a ticket somewhere.
True, and just not go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.